ONYX pages. Hi FIYAHCON 2020, this is Jerry, and I want to tell you about a book that I finished 2 days ago. It's called The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Young Hiram Walker was born into bondage. When his mother was sold away, Hiram was robbed of all memory of her, but was gifted with a mysterious power. Years later, when Hiram almost drowns in a river, that same power saves his life. This brush with death births an urgency in Hiram and a daring scheme to escape from the only home he's ever known. So begins an unexpected journey that takes Hiram from the corrupt grandeur of Virginia's proud plantations to desperate guerrilla cells in the wilderness, from the coffin of the Deep South to dangerously utopic movements in the North. Even as he's enlisted in the underground war between slavers and the enslaved, Hiram's resolve to rescue the family he left behind endures. I would describe The Water Dancer as a mix of historical fiction, fabulism, and I would say Afro-retrofuturism, because it really takes us back to the neo-slave narrative, but it inserts this magical power that he has. And as a reader, we get to walk with Hiram as he gets a sense of his political beliefs, about his feelings about what he's going to do about his station, and also this growing magical power within him. And one of the things that I love about this cover is that it foreshadows his relationship with water. And we're not sure when you just see the cover if his relationship with water is a mundane one or if it's one that has some sort of otherworldly element. Let's get into the 7 calorie shell review of the story. So first of all, in terms of world building, I thought that the world building was amazing. Instead of calling individual slaves, he calls them the tasked. And the tasked form the lowest rung in this very rigidly organized racial and class-based and gender-based caste structure. So on the bottom, you've got the tasked, then you have low whites, and then you have the quality. And throughout the story, he talks about the interrelationships between each of these rungs of society. And I thought that was an innovative and interesting way to take up the question of the institution of slavery and the sociology of slavery. And it gave me enough separation between the classic ways that authors talk about slavery and kind of brought it into the 2020 in a way that was really interesting to me. In terms of the characters, I thought the characters were great. My only criticism is that there are no non-binary characters, there are no openly queer characters to speak of. And so really the story was told from the perspective of a young man. It had some limitations in terms of the ability to shift the prism a little bit and to see the different dynamics that could have played out in the story. There are particularly 2 female characters, one a 20-year-old and one an older woman, who I think would have provided a more interesting perspective. And also there's a special character that shows up in the third quarter of the book that blew my mind, and I really would have appreciated hearing more of the story from her perspective. In terms of the point of view, I've given some of the limitations. I'll now comment on the otherworldly elements because I think that for me was the most interesting part of the story. Hiram's got a gift, and he doesn't really quite understand the gift. And that gift is linked to, at least in my view, it's linked to the flying Africans trope. Hiram has to make choices throughout the story. He has to decide whether he's going to remain within the system of the tasked or whether he's going to rebel against it. He has to decide whether he's going to stay in the North after he escapes or if he's going to return home. He also has to decide whether he's going to allow himself to be used and his powers to be used and manipulated by what appears to be an emancipatory movement, or if he is going to sort of chart his own path. And I think those questions are questions that we can bring into our current circumstances as Black queer folks to think about what are we going to do about the current political context that we're offered. Do we rebel? Do we act within it? Do we create something new? What does that look like? So Hiram's choices are very similar, I think, to some of our choices. And I think that's why the story is really relevant. I would say the overall reading experience was wonderful. If you have liked books like Kindred or Redwood and Wildfire by Andrea Hairston, or The Book of Night Women by Marlon James, or The Gilda Stories by Joelle Gomez, or She Would Be King by Waiyetu Moore. I think that you'll really enjoy this. So I hope that you enjoyed this review, and I look forward to hearing more from you over social media. Have a wonderful FIYAHCON 2020. Thanks for watching this video, and read with purpose. Bye.